Greetings, light holders. Happy Madaraka Day in Kenya. Self-Governance Day. How relevant. There's so much that's going on in Kenya, and this is why I am spontaneously jumping in. I woke up yesterday feeling violently angry, violently reactive to all that is developing in this region. If you're in this part of the planet, you would for sure know what's been going on here. So the focus of today is to shift the energies to steer our trajectory for Kenya and the rest of Africa, and by extension the rest of the planet, to the highest trajectory. I think this is so much needed. And not only that, I will explain why everything that is happening now is meant to be. And there is a higher purpose for that too. So I want to, first of all, bring in some energies to uplift everyone, whatever it is that you are, that you've got going on in your day-to-day life. I want you to know that you are not alone. You are united with fellow light holders, whether you know it or not, whether you know that you are a light holder or not. If you are tuning in here, I guarantee you, you are a light holder. And also that there is so many people who are going through exactly what you're going through. You know, we are more similar to each other than we imagine. And I want you to know that I'm sending you so much love right now. Invite your heart to open up to receive. And this love I'm sending you is not from my egoic level, is from high level source. So bringing in very high level love energy, love frequencies, meaning the source of this love knows everything about you, what you've gone through, more than you know on this level. A kind of higher power, if you will. You are being heard. You are seen by divinity. Divine eyes are imbuing you with so much love right now. And another message that's coming through is that you are not trapped. Whatever situation you are struggling with right now, anything that you feel you're stuck in or feel chronically banging your head against the wall because you just can't find a solution to something, I want you to know that you are so supported and you are not trapped in this one situation, one thing, one option. And my aim for this session today is to guide you, facilitate this space for you to move into your place of power within you, where you are in control once again. All right, there's so much that's going on right now around the world. And because I'm in Kenya, and right now there is just so much that's going on, I'm not going to go into the analysis of what's going on. I know what's going on. I know the dark agendas that are behind it, and make no mistake, they are not separate events. The kind of events that are triggering mass rallying, the kind of intentions that we want to create, the kind of motivation that people are coming from, whatever that is causing this, it is not separate from the Ebola biocontainment centers that is triggering so many of us. It is all related. There is one agenda, and that's all we need to know. Now, the first thing that I want to urge you is do not go into fear, because fear is the weapon of control, right? So who's they? I don't want us to go too much into who they are, but you know in your hearts, in your soul, that there is a darker agenda, and that's all you need to know. Because the majority of you, by that I mean within you, the majority of who you are ought to be operating, recognizing and acknowledging that there is a divine part in you, and that trumps all darkness. Light always triumphs. The reason why everything is happening so intensely right now, everything feels so intense right now, is because darkness is losing its power. The system has already collapsed. You know, when somebody is drowning and they're on their last breath, they hang on to everybody and they tell you not to try to rescue somebody who's drowning, because you will get sucked into that, because that last breath, that desperation for that last breath makes them act and behave in a very intense, violent, aggressive way, right? So the intensity is not a sign of power, it's a sign of failing, it's a sign of crumbling of power. So what I also want to convey right now, and this is also very, very important, is none of this is new. These things that are happening, so a lot of people would, the reason why many people feel so powerless is because you think, oh, things are getting worse and worse. It seems like we're just at the mercy of all of these events that I am not in control of, right? These things are not new, only we are seeing them now. Because we are in this era of truth revealed, darkness, lies exposed. So anything that used to be operating under darkness, under concealment, they're not able to hide anymore, right? And that is a sign of a tipping of power back to the side of light, of divinity. Right? So don't think that that is a sign that darkness has amped up and are winning. They're not, they are losing. This is why they can't hide anymore. Have you noticed that it's almost comical? It's hilarious. People just can't seem to lie anymore. And okay, I'm talking about on a global scale, right? On a national scale, state scale, but also everything that happens on that macro level is also relevant for your own personal life as well. You will find that a lot of things you can relate on your personal life as well, right? Because everything is connected. We're living in this sort of mirror world where a lot of things are actually reflections of what's also going on inside of you and in your circle of life, your social circles, your life with your family, your career, your work, your job, what's happening in your local scene. All right. So just don't think that this is irrelevant to you, because I'm not interested in talking about the bigger political issues or whatever, right? I'm not political at all. But energy is energy, right? Which also leads me to another point, which is so important to reinforce. So when people say, okay, first of all, this thing about, I want to talk about your knowing, okay? So one of the things you immediately can tap into in terms of what can I do, okay? So we know these things. We know there are forces that are at play. There are manipulations, there are forces that are controlling humanity, enslaving humanity, but what can I do about it, right? So knowing it doesn't make you feel more empowered, right? Doesn't change anything. So this is what I'm going to, I aim to contribute to in this session today, all right? So the first thing I want to point out is, I laugh when there's only a few people who are on the side of these Ebola centers, right, being here in Kenya, right? Most people are violently rejecting it, and rightly so. And I just laugh because it's almost like you can tell they're lying. You can tell that they're just coming up with the lamest lies, right? It's like you're stupid, right? What you immediately notice is that more people are awake now. Collectively, we are not so asleep. We're not under a spell anymore. So this is also a sign that we have come back into our power, the tipping of the balance of power from their side to the side of light, of divinity, right? So it's like a lot of the things that the people who are pro this thing are saying, it's like it makes sense logically. You can kind of, if you wanted to, you can sort of go, yeah, it actually does make sense. So maybe I shouldn't be so, be rejecting of this immediately, right? Now, the thing is that it just doesn't sit right in your soul. And that is an element of your power. Do not underestimate the power of your intuition. Intuition trumps everything that makes sense logically. So intuition is one of the things that you can tap more into to shift your reality. When they say, oh, listen to us, we know better, right? This is what we should be doing, right? And you can within yourself go, okay, I know what they say, what I'm hearing what they're saying, it does make sense, but I know in my soul, I know it just does not feel right. And that is your truth speaking. That is the voice of your inner soul, your truth, the higher truth speaking through you. So let's take a moment. I'm sending you an activation to ignite your dormant intuitive gifts. We all have gift of intuition. It's only now become dormant because we have been told not to nurture it. That somehow nurturing it means you are irresponsible, you are airy-fairy, you're ungrounded, you are one of those new agey person that can't be trusted, or whatever programming that they instill in us to block us from our true power. So I'm here to tell you that in your intuition, that gut feeling, that sense of no matter what they are saying, no matter how nice it sounds and how right it sounds, it just doesn't feel right. Your feeling trumps everything. Trust that. And the more you trust it, the more you sort of gain this confidence, this knowing. And after a while, it becomes like just like that immediate, right? And it is so powerful when you can reliably lean onto this gift of yours. It elevates you to operating on a whole other level. Again, reminding you that you are not stuck on this level of pain and suffering, of difficulty and hardship. I know that hardship exists. I am not blind to that. But I'm telling you that you are not stuck in one version of that reality. Your internal resources has been vastly underutilized. Okay. So earlier I have said that everything that is happening right now is all connected. It is not separate. Okay. Because one of the things that we can kind of spin ourselves into a place of powerlessness, right? Darkness, chaos, confusion, fear, right? Which is the very agenda of dark side, right? The nefarious system, right? That is crumbling, that I would argue that has already crumbled. We are seeing the phantom version of it, just the ghostly level of that reality. So all of these events that are happening right now on a higher level, they are supposed to happen. So I want you to quit making yourself so anxious by, getting caught up in this confusion of, is it this or is it that? Is it this theory? Is it that theory? Oh, one moment is here, one moment that, right? It is everything. It's levels of consciousness, but it is all true on some level, right? So quit doing this. Is it this or is it that? It's enough to know there is an agenda and we are more powerful than that and we can transcend it. Okay. So the thing about powerlessness, fear and powerlessness is, it's actually it's silly when you really know the truth of it, right? It is such an illusion. And by that, I don't mean that it's not real. I mean that there is an illusion of how powerful this thing is over us, right? Most of the time, we assign power to that thing to have power over us through fear. And this is why a lot of dark agendas play on fear, right? Diseases, one moment this, and a moment is that, right? This thing, you should be afraid of this, you should be afraid of that, because then it gives them power to then control us, right? But the funny thing is, you can awaken from that spell. It is a spell. You can awaken from that hypnosis in an instant. That thing about one moment you're in hell, the next moment you are in heaven, and nothing has changed on the outside. Yet everything has changed. Your whole experience of what is has changed. And then very often it's accompanied by the external reality actually changing to match where you are right now, where you have awakened to the higher truth that you are already free, that you are not a slave, no longer need to perpetuate that enslavement, that imprisonment. In that moment, you are free. And such is the power of us as infinite divine beings of light, temporarily forgetting who we are, pretend powerlessness is the game that we are playing. But in any moment, we can awaken, right? Just think about it, right? This powerlessness is such an illusion because at any moment, if enough people, individuals, awaken to our sovereignty, just by the power of numbers, we outnumber the small amount of individuals who are actually agents of the dark forces, right? Just think about it. Just by sheer number, right? So that is how it works, okay? How they use the illusion of fear and your powerlessness, right? But the higher truth is that you are infinitely powerful. So at any moment, you can awaken from that experience of powerlessness, and then avenues will open up. Opportunities will be presented to you that never existed before. Because all of a sudden, your consciousness is lifted up to another level. So you are not trapped, you are not stuck in just one version of reality. So let me take a moment to do another healing right now. I want to send an activation to support you in integrating the transmission that I've delivered so far, so that it goes to a visceral level where you can embody it and you can utilize it in a practical way that would translate to you seeing through the illusion of powerlessness at this time. Okay. So again, I want you to take a deep breath in. And as you breathe out, I want you to allow spaciousness to arise from within you. Beautiful light holders, welcome, welcome. Sending you The energies are still going. This is a transmission from high-level sources to activate your inner power, your sense of knowing that your source of power lies inside of you and there are infinite resources within you that will trump anything that is happening outside of you. So as I prepare some clearings, we're going to do a set of clearings. Clearings to what? Clearing the energies that are blocking you from accessing your true power, the power to shift your reality. I want to do one more verbal transmission because there are other messages that I want to convey before I get on to the clearings. Okay, so I was saying earlier that everything that is happening right now is supposed to happen on a higher level precisely to support you in coming into your power, to this awakening and remembering who you truly are, right? It's almost like, okay, now you have these parameters, right? These limitations, these scary stories, these sort of depressing events that are happening around you, right? Who are you, right? So this is a question between you and yourself, first and foremost. Okay, so you're prompted to inquire deep within you, who am I? Are you a person, this being who is enslaved by the illusion of fear? Or are you more than that? You know how when we encounter a crisis or a disaster, and I have plenty of those, and you get pushed to a wall, to a dead end, right? And a lot of the most successful people in the world will, inevitably have a story like that to tell. It's when they got pushed to the end, to rock bottom, whatever you want to call it, is when, when there's no other way. It's like everything is just zero, blank, empty, and you have no other choice but to turn inward. That is a point of transformation. And you go, oh, there is more. Even with everything external, everything outside in my life completely gone, maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's money, maybe it's an asset, a property, maybe it's friends, social circles, maybe it's social validation, right? When you have nothing, when you have this been stripped of everything, on a higher level, it serves to allow you to really see who you really are. Because guess what? When things are going well, when you're comfortable financially, in your relationship, it's all going really well, everything is just nice. There isn't that need to look deeper into yourself, right? And one can get lost very easily with that kind of false happiness, false contentment, false abundance even, right? As you know, wealth is not about having lots of nice things and lots of money, right? I know lots of people who are extremely wealthy, extremely abundant in all ways, and yet inside of them, they are not wealthy. They are in fear. They are in lack. They're driven to really bad behaviors because they are coming from this place of fear and lack, right? And then projecting it in their relationships, and you go, why can't this person just be happy and enjoy, exude the happiness that they ought to be feeling because they have so much going for them? And that's because it's not about external wealth, it's about internal wealth. That wealth, let me tell you, however poor you think you are, however isolated you think you are, however in scarcity and lack your life seems to be, whether it's a lack of health, lack of friends, lack of wealth, doesn't matter, right? I want you to know that inside of you, you are infinitely abundant. And probably you haven't tapped into most of that resources that are available to you, right? So you don't have to wait until a disaster strikes, because that usually serves to wake you up to how infinitely abundant you are inside. But if you decide to move into that space of recognizing that, then it makes any crisis or disaster unnecessary, right? It's like that saying, you decide where your rock bottom is. So I'm going to channel some healings right now. I'm going to shift, first of all, heaviness, stuckness, rigidity, because we have to get through this before we go into the juicier things, right? Because, very often we hold rigidity as a response to the 3D fearful life, the life that is designed for us to be in fear all the time, right? But that's not enough. That's not the only option for you to exist in, right? I'm telling you, there's another way. So I'm going to do some shifts in the invisible realm, where your system becomes more conducive to operating in a higher frequency level. Let's just put it that way. Okay, so whatever struggles that you are bringing in here, that you are holding in your system right now, it's okay. It's not a judgment. I want you to know that it is okay. All right, first of all, you got to stop beating yourself up. I'm telling you, it's not even about the ghosts, the monsters outside of you. We are the biggest monsters in our lives. Okay, so first of all, just stop that. Let's move away from treating ourselves so badly. And I'm not asking you to love yourself or to be in admiration of yourself and tell yourself that you are wonderful and perfect and beautiful and whatever, right? I'm not asking you to do that. I'm just asking you to be okay, warts and all, with all your flaws and imperfections. Allow it to be okay. Okay? You just be neutral, all right? And already so much of your energies have been released, and those energies can now come back to you and already starting to nourish your system. And try to stay in that space of openness, of spaciousness, of neutrality, as I bring in some energies to shift you. So first of all, let's remove the thing, shame. Okay, we're going to clear shame from your system. Shame is embedded in so many of us, and in such a deep level that we don't even realize how much it is blocking us from true success and happiness. Yeah. So in order for you to recognize that you are an infinitely divine being of light, that you are not powerless against all of these seemingly scary things that are happening in our country, in our world, we need to clear shame out of your system. So all you have to do is to relax and be open to receive this transmission. And by the way, nobody can force you to receive anything you don't want to. So nothing is forced. We respect your sovereign choice. Your choice of saying yes or no can trump whatever it is that I am intending for you in this space. Source intelligence is going into each and every one of your systems to locate, identify, and instantly nullify, dissolve, clear transmute back into clean energy, 0 point. Anything that is connected to fear, including all stories, all origin stories, traumatic events, programmings, any spells, external influences, internal influences, for the higher purpose of in service to the highest good of all concerned in the universe. Let's send an energy to help you release the holding on to fear. Because some of you are so used to operating with shame, governed by shame in your system, that you actually don't know how to operate without it, or even be in resistance to being free from shame. We're also clearing some traumas, childhood traumas, especially babies. I'm seeing lots of babies. So these are not really in your conscious awareness, but things that happened to you as an infant. I'm also seeing in your mother's womb things that are pre-birth. We are clearing that out of your system. Okay, lots of your celestial guides as well as ancestral guides are with you as we're doing this right now. So this is a collaboration with your team of invisible powers as well. Okay. So we're sending an activation now to allow these energies to continue to work through your system over time beyond this session, over the coming days and weeks and months as appropriate, until it's completely freed, allowing more love, beauty, and magic to infuse your life with this clearing. Okay. We're also clearing anger and resentment that's in your system. You'll be surprised by how much this energy blocks us, and unlike shame, this is more of like an explosive, very more on a superficial level, but it needs to be cleared all the same. And part of this is the anger and resentment that were embedded within the pockets of shame, right? So as we clear the shame, there's some of this anger, resentment that popped up to the surface. So this is just what we are clearing right now. And again, your job is just to be relaxed, to be spacious, to not resist. We're working with your heart. We're opening your heart. Just relax. Suruman, Suruman, Suruman. Trunude, Trunude, Trunude. Hoshi iki ri sherumura kara keshara kitaru ushu neri keri itu su taraketaru kushiriki sun sarani ataru kushiri iti itare kirakushuri nakareka ni tushkurini itukura istarukushure niki maraketarukushuru kishu shuranare. Breathe into your belly and breathing out, expanding, grounding, integrating that clearing. Okay, let's do one more clearing. Let's tune in about 63% clear. sorry, 60, yes, correct, 63% clear. There's some balance that need to be cleared. So let's tune in. What's that energy that needs clearing? Calcification. So as a result of all of these lifetimes, generations of programmings, a lot of it is passed down by familiar programmings, right? It's all coming from the same source, and that is to prevent us from knowing we are free, from knowing that we are infinitely powerful, that you are already free. So over time, from all the programmings, all the limitations that's imposed and implanted into your system, into your mind, your body, we become this extremely rigid being. Okay, so collectively, this is what we become, rigid, calcified. So we are not, so imagine something in your freezer, like a piece of meat in your freezer, right? You know, and it's just frozen, and you need to, in order to enjoy that piece of meat, you have to thaw it first, right? So in the process of thawing is when all those nutrients now become available. So this is kind of an analogy of what we're doing right now. So we all need a thawing, okay? So the calcification of, people talk about the calcification of the pineal glands, and of course that is true, but that's not the only thing that is calcified. The rest of us are calcified. Our brains are calcified. Our body just holds so much rigidity. Little do we know is by melting and thawing out that rigidity, that a lot of your pain, a lot of your discomfort, first of all, if you're struggling from any chronic pains, I'm telling you, this is a key to getting rid of pain. Because at some point I realized that rigidity is what causes pain, So let's do a clearing. So what I'm sensing, the thing that has been implanted into your body, into your system, into your mind to make you frozen is fear, okay? Now, trauma also keeps you in a frozen state. So I want you to just hold your consciousness to what I'm saying. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, it's definitely perfectly fine. This will still work, okay? So I'm downloading an energy package to melt down, thaw out any calcification, infusing you with the energy package now. You feel the warm sensation emanating from your belly, through your heart, your torso. As this energy package emanates and activates in your system, has an intelligence that goes into all of these pockets of shame, wherever they come from. So all sources, reasons, causes, origins of fear. So I want to say fear and trauma, because I need to name the trauma as well. I need to, sometimes by naming something, it starts to dissolve it. It starts to transform that energy. So we want to move you out of being held prisoner by that energy. So freeing you from the grasp, from the grips of fear and trauma. Relax and just be relaxed, just be open to receive. The more you allow spaciousness to arise, the more effective and more potent this clearing will be for you. And some of the guides are telling you through me, don't be surprised that you're going to sleep better tonight. Some of you have been so burdened by anxiousness, anxiety, sleepless, disturbed sleep. Da medaraku gurki kushunaraki. Urakita ushkuri iti unaraki. Hom shara etaro kushuri iti shurana itaro nu. Shiti si ita shurani. Tara ketaro kushure niti suranare. So your guides are also opening up your divine channels, your channel of higher wisdom, so that higher level data and information, ways of perceiving and interpreting what's going on around you are made more available to you to assist and support you in going forward from this session. Checking in, there's about 83, 87 as I'm speaking. It's all clearing now. And now we're working collectively. The energy is expanding more and more. The better it gets into infinity. So for some of you, a lot of reversal of the direction that your life is going has already happened. So you may find there's more, lucky strikes, more good things that suddenly happen to you. Because sometimes we end up being stuck in these sort of periods, phases in our lives where we seem to be, one bad luck after another, So what we've done is reverse the direction of that so that it now comes back to neutral position, and then expanding it to the trajectory of more and more, the better it gets into infinity. Because guess what? We are infinite. Infinity is part of who we are, part of our true divine nature, right? Infinity means there's no end to how much we can grow and expand and increase and elevate. There is no end. Right? It also means in terms of the abundance, right? In terms of amounts and direction and space, endlessness. Whew. So as we elevate a lot of you out of this dimension of pain and suffering, fear and difficulty and hardship that we're so used to operating because it's been made that way for us, you're seeing that there is another realm of reality that is available to you that you can actually decide to operate predominantly in from now on. So, going back to what we started talking about, which is the seemingly unfortunate things that are happening in our beautiful country right now. Okay, let me just call it, just name it for what it is. Okay, because I don't want to talk about the theories, and because like I said, I know what's going on. There is no need to waste any more energy in the analysis and is it this or is it that. It is all of it, and it's all from the same source, one agenda, which is to sabotage our divinity, right? With the biocontainment facility here imposed upon us, it is an invasion, right? Now, this is the most important message that I'm going to convey to you today. And this is the premise, the reason for why I have been called to be based in Kenya, which is that they know the forces that are sabotaging us, they know, right? And it's not one person, it's not one party, it's not one country. It is everywhere. It's beyond borders. Right? Because they know what I know, and what I know is what I'm going to tell you right now. That this is a divine land. The key to the expansion of the collective consciousness lies in the land of Kenya. Okay. So within here, and when I say land, I mean also the people who are here. Okay. So if you are in Kenya, you are a god or a goddess, temporarily forgotten who you really are, temporarily forgotten your divinity and your divine role at this pivotal time in the evolution of humanity, right? I'm not talking about just for this country, not even just for the continent, because when Kenya awakens, it awakens the rest of the planet. So this is why there's a lot of interest in this country. So I'm telling you this because the time is now to awaken. There is nothing and nobody that is more powerful than you. Okay. Now, if you're tuning in from other countries and you say, okay, maybe this is not relevant to me, I'm telling you, everything is connected. What is happening, what I just said about Kenya and the land, the people in Kenya, you can take that to apply to where you are in your life right now. Okay? Because guess what? Beneath all the division, the separation, the differences, divide and conquer, where they highlight the differences to make us fight against each other, right? Outside of that, we are united in one spirit. All come from the same source. So this is relevant across the planet. If you are a human being, this is relevant for you. So in a way, what is happening, and this is in a way, it is symbolically what is happening to humanity, but also literally, right? It is also not a metaphor. There really is a hidden gem, a rare power that's hidden in the land and the people in Kenya, right? Also, reminding you that this is the cradle of civilization, the birthplace of humanity, right? Coming full circle. So, this is, you want to call it a portal? Yes. Just to know that you are this powerful, this special, essentially the key to emancipation for humanity has been held and safeguarded on this land. So I see what is happening as being an invasion of this divine land and attempts to sabotage and contaminate and ruin and bring in a lot of fear and confusion and chaos, right? But if you know this piece that I just conveyed to you, I invite you to hold on to it and not allow any of that to have any effect, any power over you. Do not let this knowing be tainted, be diluted in any way. There is no need. I invite you to take a deep breath in and breathing out, expanding, grounding, integrating that transmission, that activation of your remembrance of who you truly are. I know I have not been interacting with any of you, but I'm just so driven by passion to convey these important messages at this time. I want to end with a healing, a prayer to the souls of the girls who died in the boarding school. Again, telling you everything is connected. There's no separation. It's not, is it this, is it that? Everything is connected. So I want to send love, healing, and blessing to the souls, inviting you to join me in sending love to the family members first and foremost, sending peace and harmony and the light of divinity to heal the pain of grief and loss to those families. And secondly, I want to invite you to join me in bringing light to the path of these souls, allowing their souls to be guided by divine light. For divine lights to be so magnetic that it draws these souls who may be lost in the astral world or in parallel dimensions, to guide them to divine light, assisting them to have a clear channel back to source, and thus nullifying whatever nefarious agenda behind this incident. Lastly, I want to anchor in the power of accomplishment, the power of your awakening today in this session, the increase in the awakening and the number of souls who are awakened. As one of you awakens, you awaken so many around you. So by ripple effect, this is how it works, right? Because I can't reach everybody. But my experience is that every person I reach, they go on to awaken, to bring love, to transform many, many more. So I want to end with a beautiful energy that I bring in and to share with you. We have covered a lot today. I know I bombarded some of you with a lot of new information, but this is very needed right now. And I know there is this thing of like this, like I said, just reiterating what I said earlier about how this time you can see that people are more awake. You guys are so awake and aware right now. Just comparing it to a year ago, you can see, right? We're not buying into any bullshit. We can see the stuff that is going on behind the scenes. The veil has dropped. There is no veil. We can see what has always been happening. Again, this is not new. Nothing that is happening now is new. It's just that we can now see it. Things that used to be concealed from our awareness. Concealed doesn't mean that they had no effect on us, right? It's like you have this parasite, hanging on to you, sucking the life force out of you. But you just carry on with your life, not knowing that it's there. And then you wonder, why am I so tired? Why can't I sleep well? Why are all my projects blocked? Why are people not paying me? Why am my relationship? Why am I always in arguments? Right? And it's because there's something that you're not aware of that is actually latching onto you and that is actually corrupting your mind, corrupting your being, corrupting your state, right? But once you know, you go, oh my God, this ugly parasite, a monster has been hanging on to my, just at the back of my shoulder all this time, right? In that moment, it feels really scary, really intense. But guess what? You will never be under hypnosis anymore. You never be walking around not knowing why you can't sleep, right? And the best part is now you can get rid of it. Now you can say, no, I am a sovereign being. What is yours is yours. What is mine is mine. And realizing that you are, in that moment, you know you are free. And everything has changed. Everything going forward is so much more imbued with love, beauty, and magic. Right? So a lot of this information that I've conveyed to you, thank you for embracing it. And if you need to take a moment to integrate it, we send you support to allow you to gently and lovingly integrate, allowing integration to happen easily and gently. You know, we are really moving out of the era of struggles and into the era of what I call the era of freedom, flow, and abundance. And I've talked about this before, and I'm going to talk more about this going forward, right? But just know right now that we don't have to struggle so much anymore, especially when we all awaken collectively, right? I started the session by saying you are not struggling on your own. We are united in one spirit. And this is the power of the light. So when you find yourself struggling with a sense of powerlessness, with all these things happening around us, what can we do? Right? It can seem very helpless, helpless against what's happening, right? I'm here to tell you that knowing who you are is the beginning of so much more potential transformation and expansion, right? The moment you stop assigning power to outside and turning inward and be curious and inquisitive about what is in here and tapping into the infinite resources that are embedded within you, hidden in plain sight, right? You are already free. You've already changed your trajectory now. The next thing is don't give in to fear, right? Fear is an illusion. Fear is how they control you, you know? So all those thoughts of, oh my God, this is going to happen. Oh my God, that fearful scenario, this fearful scenario, if this thing breaks out, if that thing happens, oh my God. Do not underestimate the power of your consciousness. Where you steer your consciousness towards, you can make that happen, right? And this is to empower you to hold your consciousness more consciously, like be more aware of what you do with that consciousness, right? So as much as it can be addictive to get hooked into these conversations that just kind of like we scare each other, it's like watching a horror movie together, right? You get into this chats about, oh my God, this is going to happen. What if this happens? The more we do this, the more we are actually feeding the scenario that they want us to feed. Okay, so reel it back in. It's like, okay, that already happens. We don't need to feed it. We don't need to make it even more real, right? Because let me tell you another secret that you can put into practice immediately. The moment you pull your energy out of that reality can dissolve. Okay, imagine we do this collectively, right? Like power of numbers, we massively outnumber whoever they are, okay? Very small number. Okay, so I want you now to just let go of everything that you have heard today. Clear your mind as much as you can, just allowing, remember we did that decalcification, thawing out of any rigidity and frozenness. Now I want you to just sink into that sort of softness and being held and like a sigh of relief. Tomorrow is tomorrow, and right now I want you to know that you are embraced in this sacred sanctuary. And actually your sacred sanctuary, the real sanctuary, is within you. Okay, but right now I am creating the sanctuary for you. So this space is very sacred. And what does that mean? Okay, if you're wondering what does that mean, what difference does it make? It means that whatever work that we do in the space is going to be more powerful, more potent, meaning that shifts are going to happen quicker and more powerfully. Okay, it means that we are graced by the presences of our joint collective spirit guides, ancestral guides, right? Benevolent beings. Okay, so I want to bring in a beautiful energy. You deserve it. If you have stayed here and listened to me and, received and kind of at least considered some of what I've said, I thank you and I acknowledge you for that. And I thank you because it is serving humanity more than you know. So I'm downloading an energy package. And this is a package that contains the brightest, radiant, iridescent sparks of the divine that will bring to you a sense of peace, freedom, relief, and I want to say bliss, but you can think of joy, of happiness. And we are now infusing this energy package into your system right now on your heart space, right here. And the more you relax, the more you're able to feel this warm sensation percolating, melting through, down to the level of your cells, cleansing out anything that is low vibration, shifting and aligning units of you, the units that make up your being, make up who you are. Again, activating that more and more. We're going to shift the trajectory of everything in all levels of your being, all dimensions of time and space where you are relevant, to the direction of more and more. The better it gets into infinity. Allowing yourself to settle, all those energies to settle into their appropriate places. Balancing you where balancing is needed, aligning you where there had been misalignment, allowing your body to self-heal, to self-correct for all stresses, all pressures, all wears and tears to be healed and corrected, made whole. Anything that has been ill has been corrected. So those of you who have missed portions of this, know that I will be posting a replay in the next day or so. So check back. And in case you're wondering, some people ask me this question, if I listen to the same thing again, will I get more energies? The answer is yes. And it doesn't mean that if you don't, then you get less energy, okay? There's also the beauty and the wisdom of one and done, which I also love, right? But it also means that if you want to do it again, you can get more energies, It's in you. The power is in you. It's what you decide, all right? Stop giving power away to anything external. Yeah, I know it takes a while to realize that, to operate, to get into that habit of relying on your own internal resources as opposed to just giving power away to external authority figures, um, but anything that you put into practice will become second nature in no time at all. I'm also bringing back in some grounded, practical, so grounding some of you back into your body, anchoring you into the earth, grounding back into physical reality, bringing back into your physical reality all that you have received, all the transformations. And I send you off with so much love. And I wish you a beautiful rest of the day, of this day of self-governance, happy rediscovering your divine sovereignty.